The Australia Council is about 40 years old, and it was set up to create it's a statutory authority at arm's length from government. I think, for one thing, it's about artistic freedom, in that being at arm's length, it's about avoiding state-sanctioned art and censorship and any fears of retribution. And that's a fundamental in a robust first world democracy. Secondly, from my experience, the difference between the Australia Council and the Ministry itself dispersing funds is quite stark. Peer assessors are your fellow practitioners with expertise in the field, and so there is trust in them as true peers. The Australia Council doesn't make those decisions on their own, it's the peers that make that, so that's a transparency through the published guidelines and rigorous assessment. In the early 1990s, I was a peer grant assessor on the Australia Council panel at the same time as I was the inaugural Queenslander on Playing Australia, the National Performing Arts Touring Program under the Ministry. The Council as a statutory authority at arm's length, I quickly understood that the decisions we were making there were entirely what was best for the creative field itself to flourish out there, whereas the decisions we made under the Ministry had that element of what was going to be good for the Minister and the Government. The peer assessors are your fellow practitioners in the field with that expertise. In the case of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander applications, for example, the peer assessors, as Phil pointed out, on the ATSIAB board are 100% Indigenous, as well as having the expertise in the art form that's being assessed. Additionally, the Australia Council has a practice of recruiting staff that have been practitioners in the field, so the project officers that you talk to are often people that understand what you're talking about. So they're not, in that sense, a public servant in the bureaucracy. The Australia Council has a lot of long-term strategic initiatives, and being at arm's length of government, you would hope that they would be able to continue outside of the electoral cycles. And I think the other thing is that the Australia Council comes to know the applicant in their entire career life cycle, whether they're organisations or individuals. So there's that level of trust, I think.
Thank you. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, thanks.